has been pretty busy.
What kitty? What kitty? What kitties?
Okay, so really busy. I got my sending off at the studio, and I start a more advanced studio with some classes actually on how to sell your art and all that. How to market your stuff. Next week. So I got my sending off at the studio, and then we stopped at CC's, which the one up by Spectrum Mall is actually pretty good. I've heard that the one in Peoria is horrific. I'm not sure if they still are, but the friend who said that hasn't been in a while, like years. But apparently, whenever she was there, it was horrific. But the one up by Spectrum's good, so I don't actually know if the one in Peoria is anything. I haven't even, been to Peoria in years. So, yeah.
What? I had a shower this morning. Why, oh, yeah, you just want me to rub the licked arm on you.
Smell transfer. No, that's actually what it is. Whenever they lick you, rub it up against them, and what it does is it's a social thing for cats. Anyway, we went to the store, got some grocery shopping done, got some odds and ends for the house, and I got to go 6-bladed razor. It says for men, but I have the urge to just scratch out men and just put woman. So yeah, I'm like, mine. My razors, all kind of just, I used them all, so. Yep. I'm so tired. But I finally finished that one painting. I ended up, because I actually did start to go the route of realism. Where I was going to make it look, kind of like an actual hand. But then I was like, no, I can't do that, because it would be too different. So I settled for a more detailed, a little bit more realistic look, but not actually straight realism. What you have to understand is whenever I talk about realism, I'm talking about making it look like a fucking photograph. Like, you think that this is real. Or, it's actually possible to paint better than a photograph. Because, there's a level of crap that not only can cameras not get it because they're too busy trying to smooth it over, but even older cameras have trouble with some stuff. And it is possible to paint better than a photograph. I have seen it. And I've vaguely also kind of know how to do some things like that. But I don't do them. I actually haven't in years. Yeah. So I'm not even completely sure that I'd still even be able to do that. Because I'm just so out of practice. But, I don't know, doing realism for the sake of realism was something that I found to be soul-sucking. So, anyway, for this painting, doing the hand too realistic just didn't fit. So I did it a little more, I made it pop. And that was the point. I want it to be, there. I think I scared this poor guy at Cece's away. Because as soon as I started talking about the crown on her head, he ran away. It's supposed to be a painting that you can look at and then you're like, ooh, wait, I see something else. Because it's supposed to be a painting that you can look at it and see something a little different every time. There's so many little details in it. But the crown is actually supposed to be a piece, from an Egyptian goddess's shit. So, but I did it in such a way that maybe, it would be left alone because I wanted it to be more subtle. Because the Egyptian goddess Isis has no relation to the Muslim group. And in fact, I feel like this is more of an insult. In fact, some foreign news groups have called them ISIL, refusing to call them ISIS. They refuse to spell it as ISIS. They refuse to say it as ISIS because this is actually seen as a pretty big insult. This is basically blasphemy to those, because the goddess Isis is the goddess of like the harvest, and she's the Egyptian goddess of plentifulness and childbirth. She's the Artemis of that pantheon. She's also the mother goddess of that pantheon, the main female, the big one. Because every pantheon has sort of like a main male and a main female up top, and then, you kind of work it down. She's like the big bitch of that pantheon. I shouldn't use the word bitch, it's disrespectful. But it makes the general point. She's queen of, that, essentially. But she's, supposed to be, the goddess of fertility and of the Nile, and of, basically, you want food, you want water, you want babies, you'll pray to her in, like, that. So, calling themselves ISIS is actually a big disrespect to a lot of different paths, and I think that they know that. So that's actually why sometimes you'll see reports from out of country, and they'll call them ISIL instead of ISIS because of that. Anyway, I made the reference to ISIS very subtle, and I only used the red jewel with the moon holding it because I didn't want to. I just didn't want to be. I didn't want it to become a major focal point for my painting. And I didn't want it to elicit talks of war and bloodshed. But I wanted it there. I have an Ankh there, and Eyes of Horus type stuff, and there's little things in there of other Egyptian deities. And then I've got, like, the two fish swimming in air, or water. Could be either one. I've got the bubbles and the fireflies and the aurora borealis that is supposed to kind of give you, like, in the way that it's shaped, you could literally see plants, or you could see aurora borealis, or you could start wondering if it's something else altogether. You're supposed to be able to do that. It's actually a balance in how it's painted. There's some things that you're supposed to kind of be able to look at it, and it's supposed to give you a different feeling. But, some of the details, I was like, well, I can't do it this way. I don't want people to, like, fight over this. This is not supposed to be a painting that is about war. And I just didn't want it to be made about it. So that's why the reference is more subtle than some of the other things, like the Ankh. You will automatically recognize the Ankh, apparently, even though I've kind of got it, like, kind of floating in the air, slanted and all that. There's not one person who has really looked at this who has not seen the Ankh. But not a single person has picked up the reference on a forehead. They'll notice the jewel, but they won't notice the setting for it. That's okay with me. I mean, if you want to look at it and you just want to see a little kind of like moon shape with a red jewel in it, that's fine with me too. But that's actually what the reference is. So, and that's why I did it that way, because I just didn't want it to be made about them. And in America, they don't give two shits about pagan religions. In fact, religions that are older than Christianity have had to fight for recognition because there are people in Congress and shit who don't want us recognized. They want to make it illegal. to BS. So, there's a lot of discrimination here religiously, not only in our government, but also in many communities. So, they don't give two shits whether it refers to that or not. Any sort of reference to Isis the goddess kind of, well, it's the same reason why I don't say, oh my god, in public. Or, if I do, I'm like, oh shit. I try not to reference the god in public. Because, the god and the goddess and all that, I just say goddess. Because I don't want them to reference it to their god. It's not the same thing. We don't even have the same basis for lore. It is not even close to the same thing. My path is definitely not what fantasy is. It's completely different. In fact, the stories of scary witches and all that shit was actually created to villainize my faith in the first place. So, yeah. A bunch of others were also lumped up in the same thing, but we were one of the ones that was, it was mostly us, because we were the ones that were seen as a threat, because we were healers and shit. Neo-pagans today don't really know that. Neo-Wiccans, especially, oftentimes. They're like, oh, it didn't exist until these books existed. Where do you think the knowledge in those books came from? The person who wrote them did not just pull it from their ass. This existed. And some of the newer generation, they don't know this. I guess there's nothing I can do about this. I can't fix them. And it's their right to believe whatevs, but that's not history. History is that we existed. History is that they tried to erase us. And that's actually why the rules about, that's why certain rules exist about secrecy and shit. Because of that. Because it literally was not safe to exist in this world. And you know what? They'll probably never know that we literally originated from the Druids. Well, it's arguable that we, existed technically before, if you follow the path itself. But the belief system that most Wiccans adhere to, the traditions, all of them come from the Druids. You can argue that something came before the Druids, but all I'm saying, there are traditions of different paths that take vows of harm none like we do. But a lot of the neo-pagans don't even understand what all this is supposed to entail. This is literally supposed to be like the Hippocratic Oath. It's not just supposed to be, I will not wish harm on people, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not telling you not to have feelings. It's about what you do with them. You're not supposed to harm people with your craft or otherwise. You can defend yourself, but you're supposed to work to be stronger so that you don't do certain things like kill someone. There's rules upon rules upon rules as far as that goes. But neo-pagans don't know that. You know what neo literally means? New. It means new. So whenever I say neo-Wiccans, new Wiccans. This refers to the newer traditions. I am literally following traditions that have been around for thousands of years. I didn't get them from a book. And yes, there is a heavy emphasis on the Dance of Seven Veils. I used it as a teenager so that somebody wouldn't die. Because my grandmother was evil. And I guess she talked to somebody who was in the library. I kept an eye on her. Most of the time she didn't even know I was up there. Literally, if I didn't want you to know that I was in that tree, nobody knew I was in that tree. Sometimes I made the mistake of letting myself be known whenever there was somebody there I didn't want to know that I was in the tree. But I was pretty much in that tree in front of the library nearly every day. every lunch for like, unless I had something specific I needed to do, I was up there for most of lunch for all 4 years of high school. Like, if I didn't want you to know I was there, nobody would see me. And it's not because, like, I had some supernatural power. It's because they just didn't look, and I knew enough about people to know if I didn't do certain things, nobody was going to notice me. I was good at observing. Interacting is where I lacked. I was really awkward at that. Sometimes, depending on things, I still kind of am. But that's okay. It's like a weird, I guess, acceptable level of awkwardness. Like, at my age, they just consider it being quirky. I guess. Maybe? I don't know. Most people I've talked to just consider it quirky. I'm just me, I guess. Creative? They've used some words for me. And anytime I try to call myself weird, most of the people around me go, "You are not weird. You are creative. You are this, but you are not weird." So it's actually nice, that I have people around me that will catch me and be like, "You can't say that because it's not true." What? Hi. Love you. So, anyway, yeah. It's been a tiring day. It's been a busy day. Not a bad day, but a busy day. I have a cat in my lap. Honey, I'm trapped here. I don't want to move.
Are you trapped?
Her claws are in my jeans. She has literally taken a part of my jeans and clawed it to the chair. Like I am anchored here. Like, you move, you rip them. And I don't want to hurt her either.
Yeah. I gotta get out too.
Yeah, my cat. Thank you. Strawberry Gatorade. Strawberries. Oh God. And it's gonna be time to go get up Chris in a few. As soon as we got home, we put stuff away, and then we put him down for a nap. Feel like I need to take a nap for a week.
I want
Huh?
hibernate for 3 or 4 months.
That's not gonna happen. Seriously? Are you seriously getting jealous? Get out of my shoe! Lucky. So anyway, I guess, that's pretty much it. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I did this on the painting, and I just didn't want people to fight over the details of it, if they figured it out. I figure it's a detail that's safe. And I don't have a problem, because there's enough other symbolisms in it. It's actually probably got more significance than than the actual space it takes up would imply, if you understand anything about that mythology. But at the same time, the other things in it also mean other things. It's supposed to be very interconnected and with a lot of different meaning in it. I like to do my paintings this way. I've actually had someone tell me that I needed to do only one concept in a painting so that they could figure it out. And I was like, no. That's not going to happen. Why? Like, no. That's not how I roll. I like to do very complex meetings. And even if I do, like, decide on a meeting, I'm still going to, like, put other shit in there. So, don't try and figure it out with just one concept. Because I like interweaving them. Like, this can mean, like, 5 different things. Let's weave it with another 5 different things and kind of, like, interconnect these different things. It's also the way that I found to be safe. Because, my more disturbing stuff can't be seen. Otherwise people freak out. Because they're like, oh my god, you drew someone dying, so you must want to die. And I'm like, no, I'm just drawing feelings. It's nothing to do with wanting to, or it's more like a feeling. Really bad, like, been stabbed type of feeling in your heart. It's emotional, not literal. So, some people, it actually took a lot. Like, I've actually benefited from this studio, and that was the purpose of this studio and attending it. To kind of open up. But it's like something where most people don't really understand it. But I've actually been told by somebody, whenever I went to apply to this next studio, because she met me and saw my stuff at the old studio whenever I first went there, and she's like, I haven't seen you paint like this before. And I'm like, well, I told her why. And she's like, oh my god, that is so, like, yes, she understands that this happens to people. But she also said that this could happen to any artist. The things that happened to me, where my art was basically used as a weapon against me. Where they would say it means this, we think it means this. And then they would use that meaning against me, even as I said no. So I became I stayed away from just painting, I like to, and with this last one, I've been told that it looks like I had a lot of fun doing it. Like, it's very whimsical almost. And I'm like, yes, I enjoyed this painting. I did not enjoy all the interruptions as far as getting it done, like getting massively sick and, the family stuff and, life. But I did enjoy actually painting it. But I also put a lot of emotion into it. And a lot of other things, So, people are very complex. So are paintings. But I like my paintings to be a little bit different. In that I want you to look at the painting, and I want you to have to look at it twice. 3 times. I want you to have to say, what does this mean? And know that you couldn't possibly know, because you couldn't possibly know any more than you could know the human mind. Scientists don't even understand that. Nobody does, really. Psychiatrists think they do. They only figured out in the last 10, 20 years that you can even think for yourself and choose how you think and all that. Literally, they thought that this was not a thing. I'm like, wow, arrogance really kills common sense. Because we've all known that we could think for ourselves for like thousands of years, so anyway, I'm going to send my unicorn painting to my little sister. I think that's pretty fitting. Because it's kind of more of a personal piece. And whenever I did put it in shows, I didn't price that shit to sell. I priced it as, this is what I'm willing to sell it at. because this was actually done in honor of my mother. Our mother. So I'm going to give it to her because it's a very personal piece as far as, the unicorn portion. The tree over to the side, I admit I was a little half-assed with that. I did have some fun, doing some different stuff with scenery on the other side, but the tree kind of over here is just a half-assed tree. Sometimes, though, you do that. Like, I have another painting where it's supposed to look kind of cartoonish, almost like a combination between a painting and a kid's drawing, to an extent. And then I've got, like, the mirror pieces, the broken mirror pieces, and all of that. That's all very symbolic. And yes, it's actually supposed to look that way. But this was also me only starting to kind of, like, get more comfortable with this. A lot of my paintings, whenever I was doing them with more detail, even whenever I just started to kind of get a little more comfortable doing that, were very dark. And I don't just mean the concepts, because some of the concepts in even my brighter paintings are actually pretty dark. But you don't see that. I mean the colors I used. The tones I used. Very dark. So you still, like, in this room where we don't have everything brightly lit up, you might even, like, be like, I have to get closer to even really see what's on this. I actually think that was more a necessary transition than anything else. Like, I have paintings where, it's kind of like, there's not a lot painted in certain areas in it. There's a reason for this. Because what happened? Now, I'm sort of breaking back out to where I was at some point in time. Before that, all that, and putting the symbolisms there that I'm just like, I'm just gonna put this there and this there, but this is something I had to build up to. Not because I'm not capable of it, but because, people are shit. People are just massive shit. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, why. People can be massive shit. Sometimes those people are pretending that they're not massive pieces of shit. But anyone who does that, and all that went with that whole debacle, were pieces of shit. So it's actually only now that I'm really even able to break out of that. Because idiots were looking for meaning that wasn't there. The problem is that these people's opinions was like gold. And it really isn't. It was shitty. Like everyone else's, pretty much. We all have opinions and they all stink. That's pretty much what I grew up with, being told by my grandfather. Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one and they all stink. So, don't put too much importance in your opinion. Like, try to be open-minded sort of thing. Understand other people's opinions and all that. There are people who say that, and all they really want is for you to agree with them. And I'm like, nothing is going to make me agree with you. Because some people are just that fucked up. But, yeah. So, anyway, she was like, I love all these little details. The first one that I actually started to even do it with is actually an older one. Like, Kingdom of the Cats was still kind of sparse. Like, I was doing this, but then I was, like, hiding it. In a way, I was doing it in a way that, like, no one would really probably care about. Kind of cartoonish, it doesn't look like it was painted by someone with the level of skills that I have. But it is absolutely supposed to look that way. I have the one up there. I mean, there's a level of detail to that, but it's also very dark. Like, in this room, it is that one. You're not gonna, I can shine, like, this light. The one I was just talking about, kind of cartoonish, is this one. This is the one that's really dark. But then we start getting into, that's what I'm giving my sister. And that one, she was looking at it going, wow, it flows all the way around. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of supposed to. But, you know, I wanted it to do that. I wanted it to be where you could kind of follow it all the way around. And even, like, have it do something different in the middle. You know, I wanted to give it that kind of flowiness. And she's like, wow, it's even kind of whimsical. And that was the first one in quite some time that I just done that. That I just painted. Just, like, even, like, there was a level of, I'm tired of thinking, I'm just going to paint it. That went on with that one. A lot of that really is kind of whimsical. I just decided that I wanted to paint something there, so I did. Like the bird and the flower, it's stuff that people like about this painting, and notice straight off the bat, are things that I just decided to add. They weren't originally going to be there. But yet they're things that people like about it, you know? And then there's the one I just finished, which is right over here. Do I want to show you that? Chris's toy box. Ouch. Yes, Cat. We see you. We love you. This is the one I finished. So far, I've gotten a lot of compliments. Because what I did here. It's supposed to look like the painting is like the hand is reaching out of the painting, you know, and that there's some disruption there where the hand is like reaching through. So anyway, I actually had one person actually get mad at me. I'm not even shitting you. Because originally, this face, you know, had been done, you know, there were lips, and everything was, I guess, kind of relatively normal, other than the, you know, eye of horse type of makeup going on there. And I just decided that that isn't what I wanted to do with it, so there's a tornado on her nose and a bird. I don't know what else to say. I mean, she actually got mad at me, and I was like, what? I don't know what to say to that, really, because I'm like, sorry? But that's where it needed to go.